Oh my god, my bitrate is actually fine today. We can actually do stuff. Welcome everybody. We are having ourselves a good old time. We're gonna be cutting decks today. So we're starting something new. It's called I Cut Your Deck. Essentially, I'm running a service where I'm going to be making edits to people's decks. It's a deck tech, but the goal is that if you have a maybe board or a sideboard that you're like, hey, I really want to like add these cards in, but I don't know what to take out, my goal is to try and help people out with that. Also, I should probably check again to make sure that everything's coming through. Otherwise, we're gonna have to redo this. Also, if you hear a screamy crunching sound in the background, that's just my cat. She sounds like that. Oh my god, the audio actually sounds kind of fine on here. Let's go. All right. Well, cool. Hi, Ghost. You can kind of hear her in the background. All right. Oh, it's not a capture. We're looking for a window. Capture cursor. I think that works. Sweet. Let's crop that bad boy down. We could probably do... Oh, it's not going to look good if it kind of does its thing. Cool. So here we have this. We're actually going to do a little bit of both here. We're going to do a Scryfall as well. We're going to do a Scryfall one. So yeah, we're going to have a Scryfall window up, and then we're going to have our deck editor up so that way we can kind of see how cards are doing. We're gonna talk about cards, and we're gonna explain a little bit about how the sheet works. A couple people that are in my Discord kind of know about the sheet process already, but essentially what we have here, and I'm gonna zoom out just so everyone kind of understands the breadth of this. This is what happens when you absolutely hate not knowing what cards are actually halfway decent in your deck and which ones aren't, and you have a fair amount of wish to solve that. So what we got here is essentially just a big check. It's a calculator, but it's also kind of like checking boxes. So what this will do is I can input values, and then it will run itself against every other card in the deck. And then it's got a couple of parameters where it'll check itself against like win conditions. So it's going to track damage, commander damage, that kind of stuff. And it's going to tell you what like the peak of your deck is in its entirety. So essentially, if a card is going to do tons and tons of damage and another card is not going to do tons and tons of damage, it'll kind of express itself in what I call a priority number. So without getting into the nitty gritty, it'll probably be easier if people just kind of see it work, and then I explain things as I go. I also have myself a couple of sandwiches to kind of keep me going, and we're just going to rock and roll. So I've already inputted this deck already. This is ApatheticHero's Faldorn Dread Wolf General, or Herald. So let's get that card up here. So what we have here is we have an Exile commander and a Wolf Matters commander. So whenever you cast a spell from Exile or a land enters the battlefield from under your control from Exile, create a 2/2 Wolf. And then has the activated ability of 1 tap, discard a card, exile the top card of your library. You may play that card this turn. So as we get a look at this, we have some values that are just kind of angry, but they're angry because we don't have data in there. So let's go ahead and start inputting stuff. So what we're going to do is we're going to just start inputting data. The best way we can do this is just kind of put stuff in here. Now what's cool about this with this calculator is this is the card's text. I can go into the priority and it's gonna ask for some values, but here's the other thing. I can get this to seek out every single card in this calculator, and I can have it search for the word wolf. And then every time a new card enters the calculator and it has the word wolf in it, like if it cares about wolves, it'll start giving it more and more priority. Now, obviously, this is the commander. We don't really do anything else like that. But the priority numbers all get added up at the ends to create a kind of best of score. And that will kind of determine like how the deck is doing. So that's overall deck health and card health. So I attach this card to a couple of criteria and then run through it. And then every single card gets its own criteria with things that it'll look for. And then bada bing, bada boom. So And then we got new priority, so this is the stuff that's currently being added, and then we can check it against an old one, which is kind of nice because then we can see a change as we add cards or take care of cards. But we are not close to that yet. Also, my bitrate, for whatever reason, is having another issue. So we may have to reset this. Maybe. Let me see how it's doing. The bitrate on here says it's fine. How does this look on mobile? It says it's like dropping frames, but I don't know if it is or not. Man, I cannot tell if this is like looking bad or not. Let me see on my end. Man, it looks fine on this end. I don't know. I might just have to trust the process on this one and see what happens, because my OBS is like, oh, this is really bad. And then the rest of this is like, oh, it's fine. Maybe, sorta, kinda. All right, we may just have to kind of rock through it and see what happens. Because I'm looking at this on a couple of different things, and like, it's like, maybe? I'm just like, what the heck? Okay, we'll just have to figure it out as we go. All right, so we got Faldorn, Dread, Wolf, Herald, because we can say words and have them make sense. Card types, we got Legendary Creature, Human Druid. So I have this in two separate categories for here and here, because some cards will look for a specific card and that'll pop up here, and then some cards will be like some cards will flip into creatures, and so that'll pop up here. So everything in here will pop up in here, but sometimes more cards will be in here, or sometimes it'll create tokens or something like that, so we'll put some stuff in there. We're not doing a price edit for this. If we were, we would input the price in there. We can save ourselves some work right now. We don't produce any mana with our commander. Identity is Garul. That might come up. Costs, it's 1 green, 1 red. Low costs. This is a lot of just like stuff that might pop up later for that's stuff that'll pop up for oh my god, my brain. Yeah. Anyway, card relevance. This is a 3-mana commander, which means on turn 4 we would start seeing cards. So I tried being smart and adding some like coding to this, but we're honestly going to kind of nix some of the coding on this just for ease of use. That's weird, that didn't copy over right. There's also going to be a time for me to like, oh, I know what happened. That's when I Okay. So, one thing to note about this is that we have the expectation of it being like a 12-turn game. This deck is hopefully gonna get to the point where oh my god. Hero, that's me. Sorry, waiting for a movie to start, otherwise I'd participate and defend my silly choices. Absolutely no need to defend your silly choices. If anything, I'm here to defend your silly choices. I'm here to be your lawyer and be like, hey, this card draws cards. It needs to be in there. But I got your sideboard in here. I got your maybe board, and we're gonna just start cracking away at it. So no worries. You do not have to defend your decks in here. We're just here to do the things. So, big thing in this section right here to kind of note, that needs to change. There is no relevance here, because they can draw every card, so the relevance to what cards it needs is fine. I may or may not have convinced all of my friends that I need some guinea pig decks in order to make this thing function. So we're also gonna be editing this sheet as we go, just to kind of keep this thing crack-a-lacking. Let's make sure that worked. It didn't. Okay. Oh sure, it worked in there. We're just trying to unify this whole section here. So we're calling this total advantage. So this is the total amount of cards it'll draw over the course of the game. And of course, it's still wrong. We love that, because I was like, wait a minute, I should be drawing a lot more cards. And this is why we kind of hate doing spreadsheets, is because it can just be this tedious thing. But if you want good valuation, you gotta kind of do it. So you can kind of see it from here. This is now registering like 1 card a turn, because essentially the tap ability can only be used once, and then played on turn 3, turn 4 starts doing card advantage. It's not a true draw because it's not drawing cards, but it is card advantage, so we do check that box for there. It does not have any removal, it does not have any board wipe potential, it is commander damage, and I don't know why that's not, I do not know why that's not pulled up. So if she was able to attack, she'd be able to attack on this turn. So by turn 12, she would be able to do 27 commander damage if she just swung with no impunity. Now, not every commander is going to care about these types of things, but if in the instance somebody was like, hey, I want to do a Faldorn deck, I want to ignore the second ability, and then I want to be able to do commander damage and then put out wolves, this would start being relevant. So we'd run this the same way. She can't attack on turn 3, so we wouldn't put any value there, and then just straight hands from there. Then we have creature power. This is separate from commander damage. And here is where this sheet probably needs some work. And honestly, I feel like this is where most decks are probably going to have some variable of like messiness. So this is going to be where like extra creatures pop in. So because she creates 2/2s, we have 2 power, 2 toughness creatures. She can probably pump one. We're going to assume that she pumps out 1 a turn. We know that's not true, but there's a hard way of like kind of telling how you can run this simulation that. So we'll have a total damage category. This is going to count all of the total damage that can be done across the board. So we could probably say that we could probably get her to trigger on the first turn. So we have 1, and then we kind of add 1 per each one, because we're going to assume that she continuously does this over the course of the rest of the game. So wishful thinking, as long as she's doing what she is trying to do, we would add up all of this. And this is where like specifically this is where you have to do this kind of stuff by hand. This is why like a kind of calculator won't work. Like something like EDA Trek wouldn't be able to do this very easily unless you actually went through and kind of inputted things by hand, and gave it like some amount of TLC. I'm trying to say words and do things at the same time, and we just can't. So cool. So Faldorn on her own, over the course of a 12-turn game, we can assume that the total amount of damage that she can do is 137. That's not really like accounting for like her doing that much damage, but that's 1 wolf a turn, and then continuously being able to attack. So we have turn 3, let's assume she can get 1 wolf out. Turn 2, she gets another wolf out, plus the 1 from prior, and then 1 more each turn that can keep going. That equals about this number. There is lots of leeway with this, and none of this is perfect math. I need to stress that enough. This is not going to give you perfect amounts. I'm not saying that this is going to be the perfect value for it. There's going to be times when like you play a land and cast a spell from Exile and you get 2 wolves a turn. So like this is just like, hey, this is just like a ballpark. It also doesn't account for if she stays on the battlefield or what other spells you got. It's just a representation of like, hey, if she was just left alone to her own devices, what could she possibly do? And this is that value. But again, this is all relative too. So the way that we like treat this is I can't really take one of these sheets and confidently put it against another sheet and be like, this is what you will be able to, like this deck is superior to this deck. This is a relevance calculator. So it'll really only test itself against prior iterations of itself. And I know that sounds kind of loco, kind of crazy, but that's just how it's got to be. Like, yes, at some point we'll be able to like compare decks against each other, but it won't be able to be like, hey, this is the possibility of this. Or like the possibility of being able to like continuously go about this. It's just not how it goes. I'm thinking about getting rid of this section because it kind of already does all of this. What do we do? Maybe we just kind of cut this section out. I had something for creature tokens, and then I had something for I had something for creature tokens, and then I had something for non-creatures. I had something for creature tokens, and then I had it itself dealing the damage, which I guess would just essentially beat this number. That's different. And I know this is not the most exciting thing right now, but we gotta kind of clean up some stuff before we can actually, instead of it doing actually here, we will keep that in. We're going to do that one. So here's another thing that I put in here is kind of goal posting. So combat damage, I'm gonna assume for this deck, as far as like its capacity to win, that you want to be able to deal 90 damage in a game. And the sooner you get to 90 damage, that'll be what I call victory. So that's accounting for people's fetch lands doing damage. So it's 3 opponents that you have to get over. They have a combined health of 120. I'm going to assume that they deal some damage to themselves and to each other. So it's not like you have to deal all of the damage. You totally can use that as a benchmark, but it's kind of a lot. So one thing that this value over here is going to do is it's going to ask how much damage are you doing, and then how close to your goal does that do, and then it'll assign some value based off of that. So we just need to, I need to just, there we go. And that's turn 11 and that's turn 12. Now, one thing that we can do too is like with this, we can kind of establish a curve of damage and find out where the sweet spot is. So if you're like, I'm going to do just straight damage, we can figure out on what turn we're really hitting that number, and then kind of figure out from there what the deck's like power level is. And then we could eventually start assigning brackets to it. I haven't fully decided this yet, but I think turn 3 is going to be like bracket 5, and then it'll just go down by 1 every 2. So by turn 3, you want to be able to take out the table. By turn 5, that's bracket 4. By turn 7, that's bracket 3. By turn 9, that's bracket 2. And then that way we kind of have like a bench post for this whole thing. The cool thing about this also is we're going to be able to kind of play around with different interpretations of what success means to this. And if I can get this to the point where it's actually like someone other than me that understands how this architecture works is putting this together, they can kind of assign their own values to things and then kind of go from there. That's something I would really love to be able to do. I'd love for this to be something that I would love for that to be a goal for this in the future. Is it going to get there anytime soon? Abso-fucking-not. We are so far away from that. But I feel confident in my ability to at least be able to like kind of, tally up people's decks, figure out where they're at, figure out what cards are better and which cards are worse for the deck, that kind of thing. The other thing I'm gonna do, just for visual sake, is we're just gonna box this up all nice and tidy. But we getting funky here too. Also, these values should start being a little happier. Why are you having an issue if you're dividing by 0? You're not dividing by 0. There's a divide by 0. You're just adding stuff. Now there's an error. Might be a simpler way to do this. There's always gonna be some amount of like leeway, but we kind of have to accept some losses as we go. And this should start populating here. I don't know where this is not. And this is the mass amount of value potential in what it does. That is so funny. Oh, that's so funny. So I went through, so when you import decks into here, it'll tell you like how many. It'll be like 1 Faldorn Dreadwolf Herald. And what's so funny about that is like, yes, it like, for basic lands you can have more than 1 basic land, but largely this is singleton. So it's like, it's just, so I went through and I was like, okay, just eliminate all of the number 1s, but it took away all of the ones from these, and it just kind of kills me. Like it eliminated, this was number 10, it eliminated the 1, so it's 0, so it was like blank 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 0. And I'm just tickled by that. It's just so funny. I'd like to be able to move on to other sections of this as well. What I'm moving through right now is the different kind of win cons. So these big boxes right here of the yellowish ones, these are different kinds of win cons. So like bonus powers like anthem effects or +1/+1 counters or equipment, that kind of deal. So there we go. With no other relevance whatsoever, Faldorn Dread Wolf Herald now has a priority score of 36.7. This means nothing, but what we can do right now is we can set the benchmark right there. Because the reason this number doesn't really mean anything at the moment is because this is your commander. You're not going to change this. It might be an indication that another card would be better as your commander. But if somebody's like, hey, I want to play this chick, I want this as my commander, I want this card, we don't really change that because it's just not what we do. But if we start changing up the deck, we can see if your commander got better or worse, and then that can kind of help you inform things. It's like, oh, am I playing to my commander? Am I not? Like, am I doing the right things with this deck? And that's up to you to decide how or much you like that. By the way, there's 2 columns for this for partner commanders, and then this 3rd column right here is for companions, should you choose to. And the deck is set up to treat it differently than commanders, but you'll want to know that. You'll want data on that too. So now we can start moving on to other cards. We've plugged in all of the values for Faldorn. We're looking for the last thing we do after we filled out the whole sheet is we go into the priority section and we start asking ourselves, what are things that we would want this deck to look out for? So we already established Wolf for any Wolf payoffs. The other thing we want to do is look for like stuff like Exile the top, or Exile cards. And if we start finding like words and phrases that we think will help, we can always go back and modify. And that's what the comment section over here is for. So if it's like, man, we got a lot of things that care about things from Exile, we can just start plugging values in there. So right now, as it stands, 36.73 is the calculated value of this card in this deck with just itself. Obviously, we can't do that. So let's start and let's look at the first card for the deck. This is Anger. This one needs no introduction. This is one of the best haste enablers in the format because she just be doing what she do. One thing that I'm gonna immediately throw in here is we want to look for cards that discard. So we're just gonna steal this line of code right here, but instead of Exile from the top, we're gonna look for discard. Let me do a quick check here. Did I spell discard wrong? Oh, I didn't spell discard wrong. I'm just a big dummy. We want that number to be a 3. So boom, there's already a priority number. It got better because there is a discard card in here, and that is the commander. So boom, we already have our first point of priority bumped up. The other thing we can do here is talk about the graveyard. Boom, that priority number already went up. Priority change. Because being able to discard things means that anything that wants to be in the graveyard now is getting better. There was one thing I forgot to talk about. I mean, there's lots of things to kind of go over in this, but the speed number is going to be something that's going to be kind of important. Yeah. I forgot to punch this in. So speed is something that I think is going to be really important. And I think if people are going to look at this sheet, I think this is going to be something that people are going to kind of push back against me. Speed is, I mean, we talk about sorcery speed and instant speed. And there are 4 levels of speed in my mind. If Faldorn just had this discard right here, like this second ability and not this first one, I would call her a speed 1. You have to wait for her summoning sickness to get off, or you have to wait for your next upkeep, or you have to wait until your next turn. Like, you have to wait some amount of time before it starts becoming relevant. That's a speed 1. A speed 2 is it hits the field and it does a thing. That's also sorcery speed. It just does things now. A speed 3 would be instant speed. You can do it on other people's turn. And then a speed 4 would enable other cards to be faster. So haste enablers or cards you have to have flash, stuff like that. So what we can assume is that any card that boosts up speed or has faster speed would be, like, if there was a version of this that had flash, she would be strictly better than this one. And so being able to increase the speed of decks is gonna be something that I really want to kind of pay attention to, because I think that's one pitfall for people's decks is like, man, it's just a sorcery speed deck. I think that's a huge pitfall in a lot of people's decks, and I think that's one place that we can always upgrade cards. And so I think it's better for us to just filter cards that are faster straight to the top. Like just outright, oops, it's faster, cool. We can just say that's better than most cards that are at another thing. There's also something we said about tempo. I don't really want to get into tempo because tempo is kind of hard without something to compare it to. But speed is going to be something that we need to kind of talk about more. And I think that's going to be a big point of... I think that's going to be something that we need to kind of get used to talking more about. Like, especially when it comes to, like, upgrading decks and stuff like that. Like, we really need to be able to identify the fact that some cards being faster than others means that it's strictly better. And again, I think that some people are going to push back against that. I think some people are not going to think that that's as important as it is. But at least in my own testing and in my own kind of research with past versions of this deck, because if you notice, I put this as deck template 10.0. I've been working on this deck templating for years. And some people in my Discord have already kind of seen some of this stuff in years past. My music stopped, so I liked whatever music that was. Back to, I like that song. We should add that. I'm actually pretty happy with all of the music that this has been playing. So we're just gonna kind of throw some stuff in and we're gonna vibe. So yeah, speed is gonna be a thing. So I totally botched that. So yeah, Faldorn, the reason she is a 2 on the speed is because when she comes down, her passive ability is already online. So when she's played, she can immediately create wolves because you can start playing cards from Exile that turn. Whether or not you can is a whole other story, but the possibilities are there. And I think if we start looking out for possibilities versus anything else, I think that'll work. And Soul Artifact, hello, how you doing? We're helping a friend edit their deck. I'm doing a series called like Cut Your Deck. I take your deck and your maybe board, and I take your pile of 120 cards and I whittle it down into a playable commander deck, and then I give you a nice little report card on it. I won't bore everyone with the details of this checklist again. Why are you not counting that? Oh, because the speed is 0. It's important not to look at that number until... it's important not to look at this number until the whole line has been actually made and the rest of the deck's been filled out. All right, we're looking at anger now. We're going to anger management. This is a red card. It costs 1 red. It is a speed of 2 because it is haste, and if it's in the graveyard, it does its thing. There is no extra versions of costs for this. It does not ramp. It does give haste to other things though, so maybe this gets a bump up into 4 category. And that end, it pairs well with the commander, so it immediately does its thing. And Soul Artifact doing good. Sick. Oh geez, you caught something? I know that kind of winter flu kind of thing has been going around. Also, what's really funny is this deck will kind of assume it's passing the vanilla test. But anger does not pass the vanilla test. Oh, there's still some like kinks in this to kind of figure out. Oh, this does not. Now I'm catching myself. This one will actually deal that much. And then this is kind of just a throw hands kind of deck. So it doesn't really deal with infect decking, burn, any of that kind of stuff yet. There's also these open categories in case we want to track something else in the deck, so I put a bunch of these at the end here. But bam, 32. Anger would not be a good commander for this deck. Ooh, my goodness. Apex Devastator. This one's gonna be a fun one to this one's gonna be fun. So Apex Devastator, this will be a funny one to kind of go with here. Also, what's really nice is I set up so the generic cost is already calculated in here too. Apex Devastator, you are a 2. Your low cost is a whopping 10. The bonus power for this deck, or for this, is going to be kind of insane. And I get to kind of showcase something fun for this because... I don't know why that didn't do its thing. Ooh, it didn't travel all the way down. Oh, that's funny. Or the total damage number didn't get passed down. Okay. So that's all of the creatures. That's number. So this is where you're gonna start seeing something really funny. So this is the total damage that's going to be put up against our 90 damage calculations here. And Mr. Devastator here can come down on turn 10, deal 10, if I can type correctly. But the thing is that he's also going to come down probably with friends. And so he kind of registers as a ramp spell in a way, because he cheats out so many things. That's going to help out power and toughness and stuff like that. And it's going to be kind of hard to percentify unless you know what kind of nonsense you're about to do. So the ramp, we're going to assume... Did I not... This is just a number, but it is. So on turn 10, Apex Devastator is going to cheat out 4 things. So what that means is we're going to take the mana the CMC of the whole deck, and we're going to average its we're going to average its like 4. And this is one of the fun ways we can get the coding on this. Like, this is probably like one fun way to do this is the ramp total of him is going to be kind of fun because we can cheat out things. And then when we add the Exile thing, Faldorn's going to get bigger get more because of this. So we average the total value of all of those. Actually, it's gonna be the sum of all of them minus 10 because it won't hit itself, and then this whole number is going to be divided by, we're gonna call it 99, and it doesn't seem like a lot, but it's gonna get so much better as the mana value of this deck goes up. Because the thing is that this card is only as good as the things it can cheat out. Actually, we should do it based off of spells. So divided by some. Now this is gonna be greater than 0 because it won't hit like lands or anything else like that. So we do it like that. So it was like 0.04 and now it's 0.29. I might have to kind of poke around with that a little bit more. I liked the last song. I don't care for this one. I also liked that song. Sure, we'll get some dance beats in here. You know what? I think that's my problem. I think cool. We'll have to revisit that one too. Some of the coding on this can be a little... Some of the coding on this can be a little funky. But that's gonna be Apex Devastator. So also we can put the reminder text for Cascade in here, and that'll help with Faldorn because she'll see the Exile clause in here. Maybe yeah, that too. I was wondering when we were gonna hit that. We gotta do the Exile. We're just looking for certain clauses and stuff like that. Cool. So there we go. That number's starting to get better. Cool. We're gonna start moving along now. All right, Apex Devastator, real easy. Everything's in there. Arcane Siagnat. I wish I could just code this so that way at some point I'm gonna have like a database of like cards that I just kind of automatically know what they do, and I don't have to like input the data by themselves. But you know, that's just how it be. We finally have sources. So this is gonna be a way that we can look at your mana base and see what like we'll be able to compare like your mana base, which will be really nice. And it costs 2, speed of 2. This is ramp relevance of 99 because it can tap for mana for everything. And in a 12-turn game, it produces 11 mana. 11 mana because we forgot to do the thing. The sheet's a work in progress, but at least this thing is gonna be brutally honest with me. And that's what I kind of like about like a sheet that does this is you're not gonna have you're not gonna like have like a pain point. Like, you know what I mean? Like, this thing doesn't recognize your favorite cards or anything else. It doesn't recognize pet cards or anything. Like, I can put pet cards in here and we can still have cards like that exist in this deck, but it's not going to make or break or crush. What am I trying to say here? It's got no bias. That's the big thing I'm trying to get across. Is it's got no bias. It's not going to care about, you know, the feelings that we bring into this. So I think I should probably also do the actual advantage thing in here as well, because I know that's gonna come up. So it'll be a way to like be honest with what you need and what you don't need in a deck. Total advantage set is going to be AZ8. And boom. Faldorn got better because she gives you some card advantage. And this sheet has been kind of like in the works for a long time, and I've redone this sheet so many times. Initially, when I first put this sheet together, when I first everly did it, I didn't put the card advantage in here, did I? I did. Okay. When I first did this sheet, it became just a way for me to track if I had enough. I basically put 10 removal, 10 card draw, 10 this. I started doing all that stuff, and it was just so basic. And I looking back, it's really funny, but like, it's just how it is. Ooh, Azusa. Azusa's gonna be fun to kind of program in here. You may play 2 additional lands on each of your turns. Her ramp is going to be the colors of this deck. She is a green card. She costs 3. She is a priority of 2. And this is a land ramp card. Ramp relevance. Now this is gonna be kind of funny. Because she's not going to be able to, like, this is a time when it's like, can you play a card as its land drop? Which actually we're going to have to do over here because of the existence of NDFCs. And if this range says the word land. Now her ramp relevance is going to be really good as long as there's lands in this deck. But the thing is, the ramp total is going to be kind of interesting because we got to change this one. Now, the reason ramp relevance becomes kind of a problem is like some cards like Arcane Signet can just produce mana. Azusa, on the other hand, puts extra lands into play. You will have to kind of play around with, we'll have to play around with the idea of like card advantage being a way to like maximize on this, but we're always taking like the peak of, we always take the peak of whatever it is. Yeah. So here's the deal. Azusa can keep putting lands into play, but eventually, like, sure, if we could put down 2 extra lands down per turn, she would have a ramp total of 110, which is fucking insane for you to be able to produce this much mana off of one card without like your land drops and stuff like that. But we have to add a caveat to this, and it's that you have to have the lands to be able to do it. So we have to tell it how many lands are in the deck and then tie them together. So if this ever becomes greater than the number of lands in the deck, then it will stay right there. If not, it is this value. So this is a checks and balance. And right now we are going to be putting lands in here. And just to kind of show you. So now it's like, hey, you can't put down any more land drops. So it's going to stagnate that out. This is just a way to kind of check and be like, oh, if you start cutting lands and stuff like that. So this deck has a high amount of forests. There's a forest up here. My favorite part about this is you can just rearrange this. And eventually we'll be able to kind of like sort this by its like, we basically can take the whole list. And right now it's alphabetized and then I put all of the basics at the bottom. But my favorite thing about this, it gets to be that I can organize the whole thing based off its priority value, and it'll sort which cards are doing really good and put it at the top, which is so fun. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, basic lands are colorless. And honestly, we're done with Azusa's card for the second. We're just gonna cheat for a second and input some fast data. So that way we can be like, hey, look, we did it. We did so many cards in such a short amount of time. Yay. Love how far down Mountain is on its page from that. Dino, why didn't you just make one card and then copy it for all the other values? Because that would be smart and intelligent. So now that we haven't done all of the lands, but we saw Azusa was only able to make 2 mana, and now it's still messed up. And I messed it up. If AN plus 2 is greater than the amount of lands that we have, then it keeps it there. If not, it's that plus 2. Okay. It is not true. 4 is not greater than 18 or whatever it was. 17, 18, 16. Is that plus that greater than E1? That was where I fucked up. It moves it over. So we just gotta do that. And boom, there. It did its thing. It was like counting one over, so it wasn't locking in that value. But now look, because we only have 16 lands, we can't put down like in a crazy wacky world where somebody like turn 1 show and tell, then you put down Azusa and just put lands down for the rest of the game. She would on her own benefit from this much. Now we're gonna assume that you make your land drops. We're gonna assume that you filthy animals make your goddamn land drops. But she can't put down more than 16 lands. That's just it. So as this deck gets more set up, you know, that valuation will be different. Can I spell Azusa's name? I can spell Azusa's name. All right, the last thing I needed was her power and toughness. This is actually going kind of swimmingly. So yep, her total damage over the course of the whole game. Over a 12-turn game, she can deal 9 damage on her own. So proud of her. And she's kind of insane. Look at that. Like that is an insane value, and it will continue to climb as she gets more and more powerful. Like as the deck gets more powerful and as there's more lands in the deck, that number will continue to climb. Normally, I'd like to assume that there's some checks and balances in there. In fact, one thing that we could do too, is we could minus this number, because that's what turn it is, and assumedly how many land drops you got. Except it won't. We can probably we'll leave that one alone. I'm okay with Azusa looking broken for the second. All right, Beast Within. Now we have our first removal piece. So this is where this is going to be something kind of interesting. And truly and honestly, I don't know how I like my own evaluation on this just yet. But we're gonna move through this with some amount of grace if we can. So this, I've put all the removal types up here because it's helpful to just have stuff in here that we can go for. So now I can kind of do this at the end of this deck calculation, and one of the evaluations I want to do with this calculator is I want to see what things you can remove off of somebody else's board. That song was like way too intense for me to be like thinking and talking at the same time. Is there a way for me to there is a way for me to find similar tracks to this. Cool. All right. We're learning and we're doing things. We're learning and teaching at the same time. So one thing that we want to be able to do is we want to be able to do an evaluation. And there's like a report card I want to make at the end of this. And it's going to be like, hey, what can you remove? What can't you remove? And it's like, oh, you have counter spells. You can remove everything, technically. But some counter spells are like specific. Some removal spells, like this one, can't hit everything. This hits permanents, which is really good for most things, but it can't also be against instants and sorceries and that kind of deal. It also doesn't protect you against anything, but that's something to kind of note. The other thing too is you can assume for these types of decks, or for this kind of card, that you can hit your own things. So you get an opportunity to kind of nuke your own cards, and I'm not going to pretend like that's not a possibility. Because sometimes you just gotta do it, you know? If you're edging out that last bit of damage, like that can be relevant. Yeah, you can probably give it to your opponent too, but maybe you won't. Maybe you genuinely need the creature. So I leave cards like this open for you to counter your own spells, destroy your own things, that kind of deal. And I've heard some people be like, man, you would never do that. You would never waste a spell like that. And truly and honestly, I could see people doing it, and I would encourage people to do it. If like countering your own spell gave you the win, why wouldn't you do it? Like, yeah, it's not like optimal over the course of the rest of the game, but if the rest of the game is you just doing the thing, then bada bing, bada boom. So this is a removal spell that's really good. It's since it's just a removal spell, it gets ranked kind of low. And I try to run things that are modal, but the fact that this can hit so many different types is really good. And I honestly might do something that kind of counts how many removal types it can do. Actually, you know what? Yeah, let's just do that. We're gonna do type count. So this will count how many types can get removed. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's gonna remove 6 types. This is left over from something else. So this. And again, this is just good deck data. So the more these numbers go up, the better. So boom. And it's all just data. It's all just data. If we start seeing things are really low, we can kind of identify things. It's a way to get good pain points. Maybe we make the valuation for, like, if we take the valuation from like creatures being more prevalent than, you know, everything else because of commanders and stuff like that. Like maybe we do I don't know what happened here. Like maybe we do value creatures more heavily. But honestly, I think as long as you were able to remove lots of things or disrupt lots of things, I think that'll kind of help itself. There will be a conversation about how like stacks work in this like format of information. And I think that if it's not helping you win, that should say something, you know? But, you know, we can... A deck is going to win based off of what its ability to end the game is. If you have protection pieces, that's totally fine. But, like, I haven't crossed that bridge yet, and I'm always kind of... I'm ready to hit that wall at another day. So this is Berkey. She's one of the best pulls you can get out of call time. She's never been reprinted as far as I understand it. Yep, just an online promo and her initial printing. I would love to go back to call time. This is one of my favorite red cards of all time. Berkey does a lot of things. Whenever you cast a spell, you add red. Creatures you control can boast twice each turn. And then on the backside, you have Harnfell, Horn of Bounty. This is a card that if you're playing from Exile or you're planning to spell cast or do other things like that, you gotta be able to play this card. It's just such a fun card to play. And it's fun to pop up with this. Now, Berkey is going to make a lot of cards in this deck real good. That's okay that it's out of order. Yep, we saw some here. What we can do is we can do a before and after here. So 95 and Anger's at 32, 97, 32 and 5. And Berkey's doing a lot of heavy lifting for this. But she adds mana and does this. And here's going to be another point that's going to be kind of weird. She can produce mana and she can draw cards, technically. What does that mean for the deck when it's like you can only do one or the other? And I'm going to tell you this right now, not what you think it does. Also, as far as like costs, this is where we can start playing around with on both sides. We're always going to assume her best value for each thing. So her low cost is going to be 3. Her CMC is going to be treated as 3, but her high cost is going to be a 5. I believe that looking at your low cost and your high cost curve is going to be better for you. This also allows us to kind of do X spells and extra costs and kicker costs and stuff like that. Sorry, I just got shown a picture of a gold medalist carrying around a Chainsaw Man Pochita thing, and I'm over the moon right now. A figure skater. It was Olympic gold medal. Do we know what country?
America.
Oh, hell yeah. America doing American things, bringing anime figures to the Olympics. I'm so fucking weak right now. That's so good. All right, so let's talk about Berkey. We love chainsaw in this house. All right, so ramp relevance. This is gonna be what I want to do for ramp relevance in this case, because she adds red mana, is we're gonna do the percentage of the deck that requires red. Why is it like that? We're gonna do all generic costs and all red costs, and then she can go against the total percentage of the deck that is that much. Is this average? Did I screw that up and do average? The sum of all of that divided by 100 and it's 104. What did I do? Oh, these numbers are a little funky. And soul artifacts are spaced out working on a deck. I also, for a second there, spaced out while working on a deck, so no worries. Okay. Well, I'm gonna save this percentage. I also want to return to call time. Oh my gosh, call time would be so fun. I have some friends that would adore, going back to call time. I have some friends that are big Como players. They would love to go and see the plane as it currently stands, or doesn't stand. It's very funny. So I'm gonna save whatever this is. Sometimes I'm like, hey, my math was just fucking weird. I don't know what happened here. I don't know why I wanted this certain set of stuff. And that's perfectly fine. We are way okay just keeping some scrap data around for the sake of ease here. Yeah, call time would be absolutely amazing. So what we're gonna do is we're going to ask this how much. So this right here is colorless mana. So we're gonna ask it this number, and then we're gonna pit it against the total CMC of this, right? No, it'd be the sum of that. The total amount of mana produced against the total CMC. Yeah, so we're gonna do the sum of it. So since there's no colorless mana costs in here yet, it's going to just be like, yeah, you don't need to produce colorless mana for this deck. And we do it here. 12% of the current costs of the deck are green, and then against the costs here is also the same. And then 65% of it is going to be colorless. I don't expect this number to be 100%, mainly because there's just a lot of like fluff in mana costs and mana values and stuff like that. And CMC is not going to account for the fact that like Horn of Bounty is 5 mana. That's not going to pop up in the CSC count, but again, we just kind of guesstimate the best variant of this that we can possibly do. So, this is not going to be, it's not going to be perfect. And we kind of have to just assume that since, this thing isn't a total brain whiz, that's just what's gonna happen. But now we're back to Bergie. We're back to Bergie's mana relevance. This is the amount of mana, or the types of mana that we need to play the game. So we have red mana and we have generic mana, because Bergie's mana will not help you when casting green spells if it's just green. We really should just do this percentages. Let's just stop messing around with that as like something else. Her ramp relevance is probably going to be everything. Oh, actually, the ramp relevance for this one is going to be a little different because it can't produce colorless mana. So that's actually kind of funny. Arcane Signet would not help you produce colorless mana. I did not even realize that was going to be a pitfall of this. It's also a fun exercise for me because now I can be like, there's certain cards that just, like, man, Arcane Signet can't help you cast all of your spells because of whatever. I mean, I did say it was going to be kind of like, I'm just confused. I confused myself. The Arcane Signet should be able to like for that. We're going to put a pin in this one. Let's go back to the regular things. So one thing we can do for Bergie is we can kind of ignore her first portions of this. And what we can do now is kind of like what we did with Azusa, where we kind of filtered out based off of, you know, what kind of cards that she could draw, or not cards. So Azusa can put down lands, but can't play many more lands than she can cast, or than you have in the deck. So what we can do now is we can look at our spell curve. I do not have an 11 and a 12 mana spell, so I do not know. Oh, so this is our mana curve thermometer. So this will spike in places where we have the most amount of cards, and the spell curve is going to be this. And then we can be like, hey, how much mana do we think we're going to have on this turn? So because Bergie cares about what kind of cards we cast on a turn, we can go round up, because it'll never be perfectly happy about it. The amount of mana over the expected turn is going to be kind of correct, and then we do it like that. So what this expected curve is going to do is it's going to look at how much mana we can produce, and then it's going to ask how many spells do you think we can cast on average based off of that. So Bergie really functions well in a low curve deck when you can cast lots of spells. That being said, if you have a deck with high costed stuff, she's only going to give you 1 extra mana per turn, because you're not going to be able to get all this extra mana to cast all these extra spells. Like, she functions much better as a low curve commander than a high curve commander, because you'll never be able to like use all of the mana or produce enough mana to keep that engine going if it's hungry for mana like that. So what we've done here is we have essentially made it so that the lower the curve of the deck, the more mana she produces, which means the more spells you can produce. She's kind of cyclical, but in actuality, that's just how it's gonna be. There's just no way for her to be able to hang in a high costed deck. Now, the beauty of her card is she is also capable of going absolutely nuts. Now, we would like to be able to just kind of pitch cards and keep doing things, but she does have a limit. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna softly cap her out just once per turn. So you exile, and then you get 2 cards per turn, which puts her total card advantage at 14. We're just gonna leave it like that. There's lots of ways we could get really complicated with this, and you can already see Bergie's like count is kind of through the roof. We don't really need to get crazy with this. She doesn't produce any more creatures. That total damage thing, I really ought to move it. She cannot attack on first turn, so she's capable of doing 27 damage over the course of the game. Bada bing, bada boom. I gotta do it just in case it pops up. The only thing in her, there's a couple of things that she's gonna benefit from. One, she's gonna care about boast. I know that's kind of dumb. Oh, anger, come on. I don't know. I do not know why anger got snuffed out on that. Oh, come on. What's wrong with you? Oh, ba-doop. Hey, there we go. Why did your common change? Oh, okay. It counts cards that do discard. How are you getting worse? It's fine. We'll just leave it like that. For anyone that's interested in this service and is interested in me putting together videos on any of their decks or anything else like that, I don't have yet a pricing structure for this. I have a couple of friends that I've gotten together and some followers that I've grabbed a couple of their deck lists to do these ahead of time, but I am going to be offering this as a paid service. I don't know what my pricing structure is yet. There is going to be an initial cost for just doing the entire deck, and then there's going to be like an additional cost for how many extra cards you want me to siphon through and stuff like that. If you are interested, definitely kind of keep an eye on the channel, keep an eye on everything else. It is something that I've been kind of passionate about for a really long time, as far as, you know, having a way to help the community, because I want people to have an easier time playing the game. And I spend so much of my time working out, you know, decks and trying to do stuff, and I've put together all sorts of different videos on like how to play the game and how to enjoy the game, you know, at its fullest. So I hope that we can kind of get to a point where I can start like actually making meaningful, differences in people's deck experience. Because not everyone's a deck builder, and I'm a deck builder, obviously. But I know that some people struggle with like, oh, what cards to have, which cards to not, and it can be really debilitating for people if they're not deck builders to want to build a deck or want to upgrade a deck or want to play, more powerful cards. And then they'll get frustrated when it doesn't work and they don't understand why. And I don't want that to be a barrier to this game. It is a barrier to this game. This is something that's going to really annoy a lot of players when they're first starting out. It's going to kind of hurt some players as like a new set comes out and everyone's adding all sorts of cards to their deck and they get better, and then people are like, oh, I want to add cards too, and then they start messing around with the synergies of their deck, and then all of a sudden it stops working. And I don't want that to be a pitfall for everybody. And so like I want to be able to offer my time to be able to help people out with that. So if you are also in the boat where you kind of struggle with this, keep an eye out on everything that we're doing here, and we'll have options for you, and we'll be able to help people out. That's really like all that I'm trying to do here. Like, this is really not, there's far easier ways for me to be making money, and like I have a career that I'm working on right now and everything else. And honestly, it's just like I need a barrier to like pay for my time and everything else, which is the only reason I'm going to charge for it, but it'll be relatively affordable, and it's a lot of extra work on my end. And at the end of it, I'm hoping to give a really good quality product for people that, can be pretty easy to continue on with. I need this to just be 0 for the moment. Oh man. Where's a card that adds cards? It'll be really fucking funny if there's no cards that actually draw cards in this. That's all Exile based. I think there's no draw cards in here. That's so fucking funny. We'll have to do this just manually. Or you know what, we don't even have to do card draw. We'll just do card draw. The data would probably fry my brain, but it looks nice. Probably useful. What I'm hoping to do, like the data input is definitely something that like you would have to be really familiar with this in order to like really make good use of this. But I'm hoping that like what can be really nice is, let's say I go down in your maybe board. I'm like, okay, you want to add Embereth Shieldbreaker. I can copy this line of code and input it here and then see what happens. Love you, have a good day at work. I've taken a land out. So now you've seen the percentage of how much of this has now gone down from there's not being a land. So what I'm hoping is that this thing will give me a lot of data. This can prove that whatever changes we made was good. But then the other nice thing is that I can look at this data and then I can make a quick report card that's just like, hey, with these edits, you've gone down some ramp, you've gone down some card drop, but your power went through the roof, yada, yada, yada. Here's some things that are really low. Here's some things that I think you could need. And I can have some data to back up what I'm saying, but at least you have a trusted basis of it, and then I can compile it into something simple so that way you can be like, oh, I need more card draw spells. What are my favorite card draw spells? And then be like, all right, I'm gonna add these cards into there instead. And then I'd be like, sure, let's go for it. And then, I update the deck again, and boom, we got stuff to go. And definitely I'm not gonna be like, ooh, I'm gonna charge, like if I've already done your deck, as long as you don't go and change 30 cards in it, if you come back and you're like, hey, I just want to refresh and just like figure out some cards. Like, I'm hoping that it'll be a nice little session where like I can be like, hey, like here's some cards I recommend, here's some other things like that. Like, I'm happy to do free like recommendations where it's just like, man, like we really could use some of this or some of this. Or like, hey, your removal package, like you can't deal with artifacts, for whatever reason. Here's some options for that. And it'll just be ways of, kind of improving things. So I'm hoping that we can solve mana curve problems, creature curve problems, win cons being just hard to attain or non-existent. That's my hope, is that I can turn this into a system where like, yeah, there's a lot of data, there's a lot of inputting, and honestly, I can take the mental load of all of that and then give people useful, actionable data and recommendations. That's my hope. I hope that that's how it can be interpreted. I'm hoping that's how this can be as a service. And yeah, so also the reason I'm making a big deal, if people come after me later for this, Bergie cares specifically about being able to discard cards with her last ability. So we're not going to do card advantage for this one. We're going to do card draw because that'll help you kind of refill your hands to do more things with Bergie. So that's just the crux of that. Because she doesn't draw cards herself, but she is card advantage. And for the purposes of this, card advantage is going to be anything that, if I spend a card, I better get 2 cards or more back. Stuff like Faithless Looting, I don't consider card draw. I call it card selection because you have to discard a card in addition to playing Faithless Looting in order to draw 2 cards. So when you look at how many cards you like if your hand size is 7 and then you play Faithless Looting, your hand size is still 7 after it resolves, because you've pitched the Faithless or you cast a Faithless Looting and another card to draw 2 more cards. So you're not going up in cards. So that's not advantage, that's just selection. So like, you know, it doesn't give you more cards. And that's what Bergie really cares about. She cares about you having more cards to discard in order to feed into the machine of just chipping away at it. So I gotta stop doing that. Okay, so let's continue. By the way, did I take that shield Emberth out of there? Yeah, I did, because I replaced it with like a basic, and his Zeus hasn't changed. All right, cool. Yeah, so how's everyone doing today? Everyone having a good time? I know I'm throwing a whole lot of like crazy information out there. I really appreciate people just kind of sticking around and, you know, watching the stream and stuff. We did set a sub goal, but we're just hoping to get this off the ground. Do I think I'll be able to finish this today? Maybe. We're on a better roll now, but we've been live for about 2 hours. I'm gonna go for maybe like another couple of hours, maybe take a break in between, and then I got some stuff I gotta finish up tonight. But I do appreciate everyone kind of sticking around and lurking in the background. We get a couple of different decks to do, so I'm hoping we can kind of crack a lack through this whole thing and, you know, do doozy do. This is everyone's favorite board wipe. This is Blasphemous Act. This is a 9-mana spell that costs 1 less for each creature on the battlefield, deals 13 damage to each creature. Really, really solid. We're not going to spend a crazy amount of time on this card. There's lots of ways that we could like kind of nitpick this card. I don't think that helps people as much as like, I don't think that that's actionable in the way that it like helps out people. So what we're going to do is we're going to kind of skip through this a little bit. I also have some thoughts about Blasphemous Act, at least as a card. For one, it's like a sorcery speed card. It is a 9-mana spell. However, it's going to be cast for 1. And it is a sweeper for creature. And it is a removal. It's not a targeted removal. But you know, it does the job. The win potential of this, we do kind of want to give board wipes. We want to give board wipes a little bit of extra oomph. You do need board wipes. So if that equals true, we'll give it like 10 points or something like that. If not, +0. I think that board wipes on their own. I think board wipes are kind of bad in a lot of instances. If you are a creature heavy deck, I think that board wipes can kind of hurt you out. There is the opportunity for somebody else to get more creatures out faster than you, and you have to kind of do what you got to do. But I don't really I don't think there's a way for me to give grace to Blasphemous Act aside from the fact that it's like cheap to cast. And I know that's heresy because it's like a fun card to play, and it's really funny to be like, haha, this is a 9-mana spell. And there are some cards that are going to care about like casting spells for their mana cost, and those cards will get better because of this. And one part of this that's going to be kind of interesting is like taking out a card that technically has a low priority value may sometimes have a much bigger negative impact on the rest of the deck than, you know, replacing a card that was higher up. So that's why the deck calculator is you got to kind of play around with it. This is not you're going to have to play with it and kind of get some interpretation. The other thing about Cascade is I needed to make sure that I hit like low cost spells too. Like it needs to be less cards. So Bloodbraid Elf, this one is going to be kind of fun. Also, I'm still enjoying my sandwich. Thank you for everybody that's putting up with this. Oh, also, as this deck gets better, this number should increase. Even in a small way. Is that number out of 100? Not really. It's just a value. And whether that value goes up or down, I can prove that it gets better. It's one of those, like, I can't prove that it's there. I can't prove that it's not there. I can only prove that it's there. Don't ask me why that works. Now, one thing that's gonna kind of suck for cards like this is you gotta be able. It's gonna count for the CMC. So it's gonna be less than 4. One thing that's nice about spreadsheets in Excel is I can actually just tell. So we have a couple of things that this card can hit. So it's already got a priority value of 4, and that'll get better and worse as we get more and more cards in here and different things. I don't think Blasphemous Act is gonna. It will technically count when there's like lots of creatures, but it's gonna take away creatures, and I think it's bad to kind of give it a bone in that regard. And if this is a little bit too much hand of the author, I'm sorry. Also be somebody weird and be like, yeah, I consider cheating cards out as ramp. But really, if you think about it, like card draw versus card advantage, like, yeah, you're putting cards in your hand kind of deal. And some cards are going to care about the difference between just how many cards you're drawing and how many cards you have access to. And ramp is anything that is going to put you ahead on value, and we determine everything of value based off of mana value. So the idea is that you're going to have an opportunity to do more, and that's ramp in my mind. You know what? I should just do this here, at least for the moment. And of course, it's gonna go too far. Oh, it didn't! Oh my god! This shit learns. It's so good. All right, sorry. I just get excited about stupid stuff like that. So yeah, that's the thing, is if you're accelerating, you'll know it because you'll feel it while you're playing, and other people will feel it in their evaluation of how good you're doing. One of my favorite cards in known existence, Bonehorde Dracosaur. I love this card so much. It's such a good card. This is kind of like a budget Burgie in a way. Here we go. All right, so we have, technically, this is a source of everything. I'm remembering this card right. All right, so at the beginning of your upkeep, exile the top 2 cards of your library. You may play them this turn. If you exile the land card this way, create a 3/1 red dinosaur creature token. If you exile the non-land this way, create a treasure token. Now again, we kind of have to approve both ends of this. So the proofreading on this one is going to be kind of, it's going to be a little janky. Now, I gotta say one pitfall about this card. It is a speed 1, and it's a 5 mana spell. It is a card I'm not going to fault anybody for thinking. I'm not gonna fault anyone for, did I already do this wrong? Did I already fuck this up? I'm not gonna fault anyone for thinking about this in like, oh, this is a good card, and it gets like shut down by like its speed. Sometimes cards are just good, sometimes cards are just bad. It's just how it's gonna be. I had like a full thought in my head, and it just did not play out the way I was hoping it wouldn't. Coming out of my mouth. Editing a deck and trying to figure shit out at the same time really fucking sucks. Also, this weird music in the background is totally getting me. So now I'm confusing myself a little bit. This is a very complicated sheet. It be what it's gonna be. Okay, so the percent here is going to care. We're just gonna make life easy. We're gonna go like this. Cool. Because because this creates treasure tokens, it can cover everything except for colorless mana, which is just so funny because of how much we think about mana like that. And this is a very slow card, but it's very good. Like you're playing it on like turn 5. You have to wait until the next turn just to attack with it and get this bonus, and it'll pay you back for being able to have access to cards. So this is a wildly good card advantage engine. It's just not when you want it. So we're hoping we can get access to 2 cards that we can play, and then if not, it's turn 6. it gives us 1 mana a turn. So this card over the course of a 12-turn game can give us 7 extra mana without any sort of boosts or anything else. Remember, we don't count for any of that. And the amount of mana it can pay for is about 75%. Which I'm still... Maybe we inverse that. Maybe we do 100%. Making a budget deck is really fun until 2 or 3 cards start going up a few dollars each. You know, I like budget. I like budget. Budget can be so much fun to kind of play around with. I think that there's a fresh hell that everyone's gotta kind of deal with when it comes to budget, because it's like you just gotta suffer with this, like a card goes up a couple of bucks and you're like, fuck, now it's not technically this budget anymore. And I think that's something that just kind of hurts. And I've seen some people build budget decks and stuff like that. I want to do something for this year's Magic Cons. I think this could be lots of fun. I'd like to do a deck that, like, I keep a deck box and I build a deck, and I have a deck in mind, and I would like people to sign and donate cards into it, and I can only play with those cards. So it's a purely community built deck. I have a deck already in mind for it. It's an Aragorn the Uniter, but I fit every charm into it. And when I built it, I think it was around 50 bucks. I think it was 50 bucks. And I think it'd be really fun where it's like, hey, this is a 4-color deck. It's mine. I will play this deck. I'm not trying to keep anything for value or anything else like that. That's why I want people to sign it. And I play those cards. And I think that would be so much fun to do because of the potential of, like, yeah, you're donating towards like a budget thing or something else like that, but I think it'd be so much fun to do. Kind of like the this is where Bonehard gets really good, is like the amount of damage. Like, look at how much damage you can get up to in like such a short amount of time. Actually, you know what? I'm wrong. It's gonna be like this because they're gonna be summoning sick when they come down. That's still a ton of damage though. Look at that. Look how crazy high that is. Plus the 5/5 body that it is. It's gonna be... I haven't accounted for summoning sickness in here, but look at how much fucking damage this is. That's like the hope and the prayer that you got there. Oh, wait a minute. It only produces 1. Well, it'll produce 1 of each, so that's still in a way correct. But like, look at that. That's so insane. Oh, that's so good. And it's technically a protection piece because you got some first strike and stuff like that. That would be pretty cool. Yeah, I think it'd be a fun way to, like, you know, uniting a community where it's like, hey, like, do you want to be a part of like a bigger thing? And, you know, if I play the games with it or something like that, there can be all these funny inside jokes and stuff like that. I think it'd be a fun thing. I think for this MagicCon, I'm gonna start doing it. Where it's just like, hey, do you want to donate any bulk to this or something else like that? But like, I want people to be like, hey, I want to put this card in that deck, and then I can throw it in the spreadsheet, and then we basically can kind of keep, you know, everything going. And then I keep a maybe board that's like 1 million cards long and stuff like that. Like, everyone donates 1 card to this thing. I think that would be so much fun. I think it would be really unique. You know, and it's a way for people to be like, yeah, like, it's not for value or anything like that. And if anyone decides to donate some crazy card to it, maybe they sign the sleeve if they're feeling like they don't want to, you know, do something else. But, you know, we just go from that angle. And it'll just be my community's deck. And it'll be fun. We're going back to Lord of the Rings. There will be lots of opportunities for things. I think it'll be a great time. All right, this card right here. This card's going to deal with something that we haven't touched yet on this deck, or on the sheet. Oh, thank God, pre-roll ads are disabled. Yep, I haven't been doing any sort of monetization on this because I just wanted people to be able to pop in, listen for things, listen to some music that's good, and keep going. Speaking of music that's good, I don't really care for what's currently playing. I want something a little bit more beat. Fuck yeah, let's just do that. Oh, let's just keep going. Nice. All right. All right, so Brazen Cannonade. Whenever an attacking creature you control dies, this enchantment deals 2 damage to each opponent. Raid, at the beginning of each of your post-combat main phases, if you attack this turn, exile the top card of your library. Until end of combat on your next turn, you may play that card. So this is a burn card. This will hopefully trigger lots of times in a game, but we need to... Why did I not make that one yellow? Oh, I guess it's an add-on to this one. So yeah, we got decking, we got burn and drain. Here we go. Blazing Cannonade. All right, so this is cool. There is lots of ways for this card to get better. But we assume that it can only do one per. And the other thing too is this really needs to be a sack outlet heavy card. And the other thing we can do too in this is we can kind of shortcut some things. So for instance, I don't have to just put the card's text in there. I can also put things that I've designated. So sack outlet is something I can put in here. And if I remember to kind of keep that up, then, you know, I can keep, essentially, I can add tags to cards. But right now, we're gonna do sacrifice a creature. And right now, there's no cards that I think currently say that. But now it'll give us a way to, like, look for things like, oh yeah, sacrificing a creature. Bada bing, bada boom. Because I think this card isn't really there for the 2 damage to each opponent thing. I think the thing is for the raid. But that's also something that we can kind of poke around with more. And its win potential is kind of going up a little bit because I put all of that damage for opponents. Speed. This is a 2-speed card, a 4-mana spell, and Card Advantage. And it will produce a card on initial turn. So now it goes up to that. Yeah, this card is getting ranked really low. I'm not terribly surprised about it. It is a 2. I did put it as a 2, right? I did put it as a 2. It will also care about total creatures. So we can also kind of throw it a bone and be like, because it will care about like creature production, but it's going to be on a different side. It's going to be on type representation, which is an E. All right, so enchantments. Let's make sure we're actually doing this right. Burgi, Beast Within. This one also creates a creature. This is why sometimes you just have to go in there and do shit. So yeah, just kind of poking around to see Beast Within started getting more creature types to kind of hit. Apex Devastator started seeing the mana value change, or the mana value go up, which is nice. Call forth El Tempesto. Cascade, Cascade. This is the weirdest song I've ever heard, but fuck it, Weeball. So this one's gonna be on the same level as the Apex Devastator. So what we can do here is we can just copy. This is a turn 8 card. So it's still doing like a percentage. It's not doing an actual like big value. I think that's probably the better way to look at this. So it's looking at all of the total. Oh, I'm so dumb. We already have a mana value. It's gonna be CMC times 4. Oh, I'm so dumb. This is gonna be a round down of that one times 4. That's what it's gonna be. That is gonna be the average mana value of whatever cards we cast times 4. I'm so dumb. Bloodbraid Elf, where are you at? Yes, because you have a limit. Well, they all have a limit, but and the reason that one was times 4 is because it cascades 4 times. So this is gonna round down that, and then that's gonna times it by 2 because that cascades twice. And then this is just a board wipe too, but it helps you cheat stuff out. So ramp relevance, this is gonna be less than 8. Go. I think this is a card that you're going to kind of like, and it's very splashy, but I think this is a card we would probably cut. I'm not gonna lie. It would be fun to be able to cascade into this, but we don't do pipe dreams on this. We only do things that matter. We are going to look at Castle Embrith next. This is a land. We're gonna finally get to kind of play around with, you know, looking at ulterior cards and stuff like that, and looking at how we interpret certain land cards. But I'm gonna take a quick break. I'm going to heat up a sandwich and be right back. All right, fresh sandwich, and we're back. Little kofefe. We might even be able to stream again tomorrow. Because it looks like my plans for tomorrow might get a little cooked, which is good for you guys, but kind of sad for me. So I hope everyone's enjoyed the music so far, because this is I'm coming back to this, like, just going for it. But let's go ahead and get back to this. So we're looking at gotta already go back and fix something on Castle Embreth. It's not the biggest deal if we don't have a like a perfect like color identity thing, but the more data that we have in here, the better. So yes indeed, that is also a colorless card. So Castle Embreth, this one is going to be kind of unique. We want to mountain, so there's 9 mountains in the deck. Immediately got better. There's also going to be a count if it looks for creatures. Do we want it in the E category or in the card category? We'll leave it there because we're already putting creatures in this count. So Castle Embreth, land. This one does produce red mana. It is a tapped land, but it is a land. Is that one card gonna go up? Looks like it's doing just fine. Costs are nothing. Lands are always, well, lands are a 1. You gotta ignore lands for a bit though. When it comes to priority, there's no cost. Extra costs of a 3. Is that the only thing that has an extra cost in here? Why is it? I do not know why that was typed in like that. That's fine. All right, this, we don't really need to kind of go into it more. I guess it could go into the bonus damage section. Yeah, bonus power. So this land, we have to have 3 mana for it. So we're gonna assume from here that the bonus power. Frosty, what's the deck being worked on? We are playing around with a Faldorn Dread Wolf Herald. We're kind of going in order based off of submission time. Equals. We probably just do. That would be the bonus power, is just how many creatures are at. Do we have. Why is that a fractional number? That should not be a fractional number. That will ask. I'm not entirely sure what this is like gonna be doing. So we're gonna swap this out. Equals. Yeah, we're just gonna do it like that. I'm not gonna play around with that too hard. If there's nothing there, it's fine. Yeah, the bonus power category is just gonna have to be what it is. Where is Castle Embreth? Frosty, how you doing? It took me 5 ever in order to get my computer up and running. Like I can't even with how crazy trying to get my computer running was. It was shredonkulous. It was absolutely bonkers. That's what I wanted, creature count. I wanted my creature curve. Gotcha. So casting cards from Exile, playing lands, classic red-green goodness. Absolutely. We were told in the specs for this sheet, we were told to try and stay away from just making this a casual stompy goodness pile. So our initial mock-up of this, quote, one thing I've been trying to focus on is really leaning into the commander and finding the middle ground between the commander and some of the game changer cards. I don't really want to play, quote, good cards in the color if they don't mesh what the commander is trying to do. I really like this deck, and at one point it did really well. I keep trying to upgrade it and have seriously struggled. I don't know if I broke something or if it was just overtaken by power creep. And honestly, that's really a lot of what I'm trying to solve here with this, is like, oh, the deck broke at a certain point, and now we're trying to like get it back to something else. There's also a comment about how like Bello is like really fun to play and he really enjoys it. But we're now in the category of like, I can appreciate trying to like unfuck a deck because oops, it was broken. I feel for it. I feel for it. Also, some stuff in this is not lining up on the bottom here. And you know, we're also fixing this sheet as we do it. So yeah, playing from Exile is going to be a big thing in this deck. There wasn't like a bracket or a score or anything like that we're beholden to. Or like a budgeting constraints. Obviously, we're not going to be just throwing dual lands in here for funzy onesies, but you know, we're going to try and do what we can to make the deck function and to smooth out the deck. If anything, I want to just make it so that way the deck works more often and more smoothly. And then if there's a conversation of like, okay, now I want to increase the power, then we can talk about that later on. But as far as we're at right now, we are like 15 cards in. And yeah, there is a spell curve thing that I can already kind of see as a trend. Oh wait, that's trending fine. But there's some big splashy cards. I'm chilling tonight, just playing some video games, trying to have some last minute fun before going back to work tomorrow. I'm glad to see computers finally up and working like it was intended. I can't even, it took me 4 freaking days of just, well, no, 3 days of defragging it. And then another day where I literally like deleted every Adobe program and every other thing off of this thing in order to get this. I'm so mad about it, but it is what it is. It's fine. We're doing fine. Yeah, obviously this bottom thing got really messed up. This bottom area got like messed up somewhere along the lines, and this is so funny. So we're gonna do this, and we'll just copy what's right there. Yeah, that's not really gonna matter because there's just one commander. But yeah, this thing is functioning pretty well. We're just kind of working out some of the kinks and some of the bugs and plugging in some cards, trying to get some values going, and we love to see it. And don't worry, you are in the queue for decks that we're gonna work on. I was trying to figure out what was fair, and I was like, you know what, screw it, we're just gonna do it in order of submission. So I literally like went back to the timestamps, and you know, we're just gonna go from there. So all right, we also should round down these numbers. I think I can just go across. Nope, we can't just go across. Wait. Yeah. Oh my god, I forgot what I did. I was like, so one thing we have not quite figured out yet. Oh, this is total damage. Yeah, this is total damage. We are this is a number we're gonna have to play around with this a little later. So what this is my attempt at trying to it's my attempt at trying to create a it'll see how much damage you can do in one turn. I don't know if that's gonna work, but we'll see. I don't like what I've done here. Oh man. All right. Trying to interpret how much damage one can do in a turn. Am I a little insane for trying this out? Yes. Is it fine? Yes. Frosty, what kind of games are you playing these days? I know I've been playing a lot of Arc Raiders, and I finished my expedition, and I'm kind of putting it on the back burner, at least until the devs give us any reason to go play. Have I not been tagging me? I have been. Look at that! I actually remember to do stuff. Okay. We need to... What we can do is we can just leave it like this. Could we realistically deal 49 damage over the course of a game with this card? Yeah. Are we? Maybe. Like if we put down a creature each turn kind of deal. Now, it can do a lot. It can really do a lot. An Anthem for just a +1/+1 at instant speed is kind of insane. It is also a good defensive card. I might not know how to interpret that. And you know what? That's also an answer I'm willing to accept. Because if that means that somebody later on can tell me, hey, I think that this card's valuation is wrong, I'm totally down with that. Like, I am way okay with the idea of with that happening. Like, that's totally acceptable to me. Because we just want this to be as easy as possible and as easy to digest as possible. And frankly, that's just it's just gonna be what it is, you know? Like, not everyone is gonna agree on how this works. I just want this thing to be fair as we input it. I love the game. I am assuming you're talking about oh wait, I've been playing lots of Dead by Daylight. I love the game and hate the game at the same time. You know, I can say that about Arc Raiders. Like, I fucking hate Arc Raiders and then I fucking love Arc Raiders at the same time. I played a little bit of Dead by Daylight years ago. I don't even remember what characters were in the game when I started playing. I think I started playing around like the Friday the 13th kind of knockoff version of it, or the real version of it. You know, whichever variant of that, you know, you choose. But I always thought that Dead by Daylight was a pretty good game. Like, pretty fine game as it all goes. I just realized something. Oops. That needs to be in there. You know what? That's going to be a bad way to that's not going to be a very intuitive way to do this. What I'm concerned about here is, like, I've done the times, like, the priority thing is not being, like, calculated the way I'm, like, hoping it will. So I might have messed up a couple of cards. Yeah, like right here. So the priority number, or the priority number is going to be the, like, speed times this, but then I've been putting stuff outside of that. So, you know. Frosty, I know Dead by Daylight's kind of like a character-based game. What's your I don't even know what they're called, like bad guys or horror villains, or what's your slasher villain? What's your chaos of choice? I will say I saw a video about it a little while ago that was like trying to explain the way that it fits the lore of like why certain characters are there. And I saw one on like Jason, I believe. It was like why he's in there, and like why slash. Okay. Yeah, now that's all fixed. Here we go. Champion Lampholt is going to look for creature. All right, now we can. It's also going to count itself. That's what I'm an easy way to like have cards be like, oh, this card counts itself when it's like looking for cards. So sometimes I just have to do a -1 in the aspect ratio and stuff. Other things I like to do too is that if there is, I like to just throw the word evasion in here. So that way I can later on kind of like do some other analysis on decks, because that word, like evasive creatures and stuff like that, kind of become really big. My main killer is Springtrap from FNAF, lol. Nice. I rarely played the games because they usually scared the everlasting shit out of me, but I know a lot of the lore because of game theory. So technically this is a 2 because it does have an active effect that works as is, but it's still beholden to summoning sickness, so I could see some people rolling their eyes at me a little bit. A low cost of 3, no extra cost, no ramp, no removal, no card draw, no board wipes. You are but a lowly 1 power creature. However, you're probably going to be a 2, a 3, a 4, a 5, a 6, a 7, an 8, a 9, a 10. And that's why this card is so fucking good, is that the total damage... Why is that number not like way higher? That number should be way higher. Can this do math? Oh, I put it in the wrong category. Jason isn't in the game yet, but we are most likely getting him this year. Vecna from D&D is in the game, which is pretty cool, and Matt Mercer is his voice actor. Of fucking course it is. That's so funny. I love that he can still kind of enjoy things. I know he's kind of getting burnt out of I know he's getting burnt out of doing just D&D stuff. So I'm gonna do it like that because it's already gonna count all the points in here. So it's gonna give me all of this value, and then it's gonna count the bonus power. Yep, motherfucker can take out 1 player on his own. And that's assuming just 1 creature comes down per turn, and that's it. That's just assuming that. And that's assuming without ramp and without everything else. Crazy good card. Champion Landhold, really good. I wonder why his win potential isn't... I mean, he can kind of half win a game all by himself. Why is his win potential so low? Yeah, we might need to change that a little bit. Huh. I don't know. In this iteration of this deck list too, I don't know what card sucks and which cards don't yet. Like, I don't know what a low priority card would look like. Also, we're not going... Cyberpunk is the name of this song, and I like it, but... And I am replaying Cyberpunk right now, but I'm not that crazy right now. Not in this. So, I don't know. I might have to redo the win potential stuff because some cards are getting... So a card that can deal like 224 damage over the course of a 12-turn game. A card like that is about a 5th. Definitely gets diluted down a little bit. We may have to do some tweaking on that. But honestly, as long as we get all the inputs in there, whatever we change the win priorities and all that too, like that'll end up kind of being a good way to... Like we can change the core of the sheet without really needing to do a lot on the outside. So like none of this work will go out if we decide to change how the win percentage is determined out, which we are going to have to do that for this. This is a brand new iteration of this. This is the 10.0 version of this. Yes, I've gone through 10 other iterations. I still have a bunch of them. Yeah, but yeah. What the fuck you mean? Oh, does that work? It's so funny. This thing just does not like planeswalkers. It does not like planeswalkers. Huh. I have a feeling this card reads really well and isn't very good in this deck. And I don't know why. I have a sinking suspicion about that. But let's let the sheet do its thing. So, this This is a 2. It's a 4-mana spell. This is a ramp card. What else produces red mana? You are gonna have the exact same. You have the same because you only produce red mana, so that'll still be good. On turn 2, forever and ever and ever. Maybe that's why. See, but a 4-mana like +2, like +1 every turn to just get mana. Okay, I think I know what we really need to do. The win cons and stuff like that, we need to kind of ignore what we're taking them out of, and we just need to figure out how much damage we can actually do and how much mill and how much infect and all that kind of stuff, because we're taking the ramp and the card advantage totals at face value and not out of their proportions. So either we need to proportionally knock these together, or we need to increase the amount that the other one is doing. Now I think I understand things that I understand why this was starting to get a little weird in my brain. And this is a exile the top card of your library, so this one can exile 9 cards off at the top. Yeah, that's what's going on here. This is also a removal, but it can only, is it any target? Target creature. So this one, if she was printed nowadays, she would say any target, because then she could hit battles and other things like that. Just not a board wipe. Oh, she can hit any target. Okay, never mind. It's with the plus, or it's with the -7, but creature, battle, planeswalker, removes creatures, planeswalker, battles. Yeah, so we have 3 card types that we can hit with this card. 13, just 3. Okay, you can also hit face, but that's at turn 7, or that's at -7. So without any proliferation, she doesn't create creatures. I don't know what this song is. It's not bad though. It's just not what we want right now. She's not a combat damage thing. She's not a bonus power thing. Not an infect. Not a proliferate. Not a decking. This is a burn card. So at 4. All right. So at 4, she can deal 6 damage. Maybe she is good. 6 damage across the board. So it's 2 damage to each opponent. You have 3 opponents. It's 6 damage in total. So turn 4, when you cast her, she's at loyalty 4, goes to loyalty 5. Then to 6. Then to 7. Then you do this one. You still have the emblem. Oh, you'd want to keep her, because the 5 damage to any target isn't less than 6 damage to each opponent. Unless you could do multiple spells a turn. But even then, you probably still want that. I don't know. She reads really well. I think there's some problems because of like how much, like where you would want to fit her into the evaluation of this whole thing. Like she's not going to help cast more. Like you're going to get, like you pay 4 mana to get a card. You're not going to cast it because you spent all your mana. So you're not going to get a wolf with the commander. Like she's better later, but then she's not as good as you really think she is. That's so funky. I like how it picks this art for the Chaos Warp. Is that like 2 of the whales? Okay, this is a card I actively hate. And I actively hate it for a lot of reasons. So I'm gonna go on a rant about Chaos Warp for a second. So Chaos Warp is gonna read really well as a removal spell. It just is. The deal is that Chaos Warp will currently get rid of something.